Imagine a world where you can tap into divine wisdom and find refuge in the midst of chaos. Intrigued? Today, we'll uncover the hidden power within Psalm 2 that can transform your spiritual journey. Ever felt lost, searching for guidance? Stay with us, and let's explore how this ancient prayer can bring clarity and strength to your life. Ready to unlock the secrets of true devotion? Let's dive in. Psalm 2 is traditionally attributed to King David, one of the most renowned figures in the history of Israel. The psalm is nestled early in the book of Psalms, and it's interesting to note that it has a distinct royal and messianic tone. Many scholars believe it was written during a turbulent time when the surrounding nations were in constant rebellion against Israel. This historical backdrop provides a rich canvas for understanding the powerful declarations and themes within the psalm. When we dive into the historical context, it seems clear that this psalm was written in a period where kings and rulers often sought to break free from the dominion of more powerful nations. David, having established Israel as a significant kingdom, would have faced numerous political challenges and threats from neighboring nations. This makes the defiant tone against rebellious rulers in Psalm 2 quite fitting, reflecting the struggles and triumphs of David's reign. The authorship of David is significant not only because of his role as a king but also due to his profound relationship with God. David was known as a man after God's own heart, and his psalms often reflect his intimate conversations with the divine. The psalm's attribution to David adds a layer of personal experience and divine inspiration, making it not just a royal decree but also a heartfelt plea for divine intervention and justice. Before we dive into today's content, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you enjoy our videos and want to see more exciting content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It's the best way to support us and stay updated on all the new meditations and videos we share. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for being part of our community, and now, enjoy the video. The structure of Psalm 2 is both poetic and purposeful, divided into 4 main sections that each convey a distinct message. The first part, verses 1 to 3, describes the rebellion of the nations. It starts with a rhetorical question that captures the absurdity of the nation's rage against the Lord and his anointed. This section sets the stage for the ensuing divine response by highlighting human defiance and futile plotting against God's sovereign plans. The second part, verses 4 to 6, shifts dramatically to God's response. Here, the psalmist portrays God seated in the heavens, laughing at the futile attempts of human rebellion. This divine laughter isn't one of amusement but of derision, underscoring the futility and ultimate failure of opposing God's will. God's declaration of having installed his king on Zion, his holy hill, signifies his unshakable authority and the establishment of his chosen ruler despite human opposition. In the third section, verses 7 to 9, we see the decree of the Lord. This part is particularly powerful as it introduces the voice of the Anointed One, likely a reference to the Messianic King. The speaker recounts the divine decree, affirming the special relationship between God and his chosen king, who is declared as God's son. The promise of the nations as an inheritance and the authority to rule with an iron scepter speaks to the ultimate triumph and dominion of God's appointed ruler over all earthly powers. One of the central themes of Psalm 2 is the sovereignty of God. The psalm vividly portrays God as the ultimate authority, reigning supreme over all earthly powers. The rebellious actions of nations and kings are depicted as futile in the face of God's sovereign plan. This theme is crucial for understanding the psalm's message. No matter how powerful human rulers may seem, they are ultimately subject to God's will and judgment. Another prominent theme is the rebellion of humanity against God's rule. The psalm opens with a depiction of nations conspiring and plotting against the Lord and his anointed. This rebellion is not just a historical occurrence but also a representation of the ongoing human resistance to divine authority. The psalmist uses this imagery to highlight the foolishness and futility of attempting to overthrow God's established order. The entronization of the Messiah is another key theme. Psalm 2 is often regarded as a royal psalm, celebrating the coronation of God's chosen king. This messianic figure is endowed with divine authority and promised dominion over all nations. The psalm points forward to the ultimate fulfillment of this promise in the person of Jesus Christ, making it a significant text for both Jewish and Christian traditions. The call to submission and reverence towards the Son further emphasizes the importance of recognizing and honoring God's appointed ruler. Psalm 2, traditionally attributed to King David, is a gem within the Book of Psalms. David, the shepherd-turned-king, is a pivotal figure in biblical history, known for his poetic prowess and deep spiritual insights. His authorship lends a unique authenticity and depth to the psalm, blending royal authority with personal devotion. David's reign was marked by both divine favor and relentless opposition. He faced numerous adversaries, from internal rebellions to external threats. This tumultuous backdrop is crucial for understanding Psalm 2. The psalm reflects a world where nations frequently rose against each other, and kings plotted to expand their territories. David, anointed by God, often found himself at the center of these conflicts, making his cries for divine intervention not just poetic musings but urgent pleas for survival and justice. The historical context of Israel during David's time was one of consolidation and expansion. David had united the tribes of Israel and established Jerusalem as the political and spiritual capital. This period was also characterized by the formation of alliances and the constant threat of invasion from neighboring nations like the Philistines, Moabites, and Ammonites. Understanding this context helps us see why the themes of divine sovereignty and human rebellion are so prominent in Psalm 2. The authorship by David also brings a personal dimension to the psalm. David's relationship with God was intimate and multifaceted. He was not just a king but a prophet, a warrior, and a man of deep faith. His psalms often reflect his struggles, triumphs, and his unwavering trust in God's plan. In Psalm 2, we see this interplay of divine decree and personal experience, making it a powerful testament to God's sovereignty over human affairs. Psalm 2 is a masterfully crafted piece of poetry, structured to convey a compelling narrative of divine authority and human defiance. The psalm is divided into 4 distinct sections, each contributing to the overall message. The psalm opens with a vivid depiction of the nation's rebellion. The rhetorical question, "Why do the nations conspire and the peoples plot in vain?" sets a tone of incredulity at the futility of their actions. The imagery of kings and rulers banding together against the Lord and his anointed highlights the collective defiance against divine authority. This section captures the essence of human pride and the illusion of power, setting up the contrast with God's ultimate sovereignty. The scene shifts dramatically to the heavens, where God is depicted as laughing at the rebellious nations. This laughter is not one of amusement but of derision, underscoring the impotence of human efforts against divine will. God's declaration, "I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain," asserts his unchallenged authority in the establishment of his chosen ruler. This section emphasizes the futility of opposing God's plan and the certainty of his sovereign rule. In this section, the voice of the Anointed One comes to the fore. The declaration, "You are my son, today I have become your father," speaks to the unique relationship between God and his chosen king. The promise of the nations as an inheritance and the authority to rule with an iron scepter highlights the extent of the Messiah's dominion. This section is rich with messianic imagery, pointing forward to the ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ. The psalm concludes with a stern warning to the kings and rulers of the earth. They are urged to serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. The call to "kiss the Son" is an invitation to submission and reverence, recognizing the authority of God's appointed ruler. This final section underscores the importance of aligning with God's plan and the dire consequences of rebellion. The central themes of Psalm 2 are woven together to present a powerful message about divine sovereignty and human responsibility. The theme of God's sovereignty is paramount in Psalm 2. The psalm portrays God as the ultimate authority, seated in the heavens and ruling over all earthly powers. The imagery of God laughing at the rebellious nations underscores the futility of human efforts to oppose his will. This theme is a reminder that no matter how powerful human rulers may seem, they are ultimately subject to God's divine plan. The psalm opens with a vivid depiction of human rebellion against God's rule. The nations conspiring and the peoples plotting in vain highlight the persistent defiance of humanity against divine authority. This rebellion is not just a historical occurrence but a reflection of the ongoing resistance to God's sovereignty. The psalmist uses this imagery to underscore the foolishness and ultimate failure of opposing God's established order. Psalm 2 is often regarded as a royal psalm, celebrating the coronation of God's chosen king. The declaration, "You are my son, today I have become your father," speaks to the unique relationship between God and his anointed one. The promise of the nations as an inheritance and the authority to rule with an iron scepter points to the ultimate fulfillment of this promise in Jesus Christ. This theme is central to the messianic interpretation of the psalm, making it a significant text for both Jewish and Christian traditions. The final section of the psalm is a call to submission and reverence towards the Son. The warning to the kings and rulers to serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling highlights the importance of recognizing and honoring God's appointed ruler. The call to kiss the Son is an invitation to acknowledge the authority of the Messiah and align with God's plan. This theme emphasizes the importance of humility and submission in the face of divine sovereignty. Psalm 2 is a profound reflection on the interplay between divine authority and human defiance. It speaks to the timeless truths of God's sovereignty, the futility of human rebellion, the promise of the Messiah, and the call to submission and reverence. Understanding these themes helps us appreciate the depth and richness of this ancient text and its relevance for our lives today. Now, let's talk about how we can apply the truths of Psalm 2 to our personal devotional lives. This ancient text, with its powerful themes and vivid imagery, offers rich insights for our faith journeys. One of the key takeaways from Psalm 2 is the sovereignty of God. In a world where political instability and social upheaval are common, this psalm reminds us that God's authority is unchallenged and his plans are unshakable. In our personal devotions, we can reflect on this truth and find comfort in knowing that no matter how chaotic the world may seem, God is in control. This trust in God's sovereignty can bring peace and assurance in our daily lives. The call to kiss the Son is a powerful reminder of the importance of obedience and submission to Christ. In our personal devotions, we can examine our hearts and ask whether we are truly submitting to Jesus' lordship in every area of our lives. This can be a time of self-reflection and recommitment to following Jesus wholeheartedly. We can also pray for the grace to obey and trust in his leadership, knowing that his plans are always for our good. Psalm 2 highlights the rebellion of nations and the futility of human efforts to oppose God's will. This can inspire us to pray for our leaders and nations, asking God to guide them in wisdom and righteousness. We can pray for leaders to recognize and submit to God's authority, and for nations to seek justice and peace. In our personal devotions, we can intercede for our country and its leaders, trusting that God is able to bring about his purposes even in the midst of political turmoil. The messianic promise in Psalm 2 points forward to the ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ. This can fill us with hope and anticipation as we reflect on the coming of God's kingdom. In our personal devotions, we can meditate on the promises of God and the assurance that Jesus will return to establish his reign of justice and peace. This hope can inspire us to live with purpose and urgency, sharing the good news of Jesus with others and looking forward to his return. The Psalm's depiction of God's response to rebellion also speaks to his justice. In our personal devotions, we can reflect on the justice of God and what it means for our lives. We can examine areas where we may need to seek forgiveness and make amends, and also pray for God's justice to prevail in situations of injustice and oppression. This reflection can lead us to a deeper understanding of God's character and a greater commitment to living out his principles of justice and righteousness. Psalm 2 is a rich source of inspiration and guidance for our personal devotional lives. By reflecting on its themes and applying its truths, we can deepen our faith, find comfort in God's sovereignty, and live with hope and purpose. As we meditate on this ancient text, we can be reminded of the timeless truths of God's authority, the promise of the Messiah, and a call to submission and reverence. And as we reflect on Psalm 2, let these words soak into your spirit and transform your daily walk. Have you ever considered the power behind the phrase, "Blessed are all who take refuge in him"? This is a promise, a divine assurance that no matter what storms you face, there is a sanctuary in God's presence. Imagine starting each day with this confidence, knowing that the King of Kings is your protector and guide. As you go about your day, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, where do I seek refuge? Is it in fleeting comforts or in the eternal embrace of God's love? This psalm invites us to realign our hearts and minds, to find our true sanctuary in Him. Now, think about the times you felt overwhelmed or uncertain. How did you navigate those moments? Psalm 2 reminds us that even in the face of opposition, we can find strength and peace in God's sovereignty. How powerful is that? The Creator of the universe is inviting you to lean into His wisdom and might. So, as we close, I challenge you to make Psalm 2 a part of your daily devotions. Speak its truths over your life, meditate on its promises, and let it shape your perspective. What changes could you see in your life if you truly believed and lived out this psalm? And hey, before you go, share your thoughts in the comments below. How does Psalm 2 resonate with you? What promises of God are you holding on to today? Let's continue this journey together, growing in faith and finding our divine refuge in Him. Stay blessed, and remember, in every season, in every circumstance, there's a divine refuge waiting for you.